dust to dust. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Those are the words my dad said to me when I asked quite simply what happens when you die. I was only 7, but still quite bluntly, he repeated and I heard, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And from that moment until more recently, I slept, although not peacefully, with the lights on somewhere close, if not indeed literally. It took me some years to ask again because, quite frankly, I had heard a different story, where I was assured there was a place that wasn't here with more glory. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, he repeated. No, Dad, I said. I knew I must. When you die, you go to heaven. Isn't that what you mean? I'm not clear, really, what you said. And I still remember to this day the way he looked at me and led. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, when you must. You go into the ground and the worms eat your rotting flesh instead. Does that satisfy your lust? For the truth is ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Once again I say, from that day until just recently, I slept not well, with my eyes clearly focused on a light dimly shining bright outside my door, sometimes even much more closely, just because the words went through my head like those worms. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, they eat you if you must. When I was 20, my mother and I sat playfully trying on wigs, laughing, having a ball, actually. Later that day, my dad took me for a walk around our block and quietly said to me, "You must not think that this is a game. Your mother has cancer. She will die, so don't be fooled by that fake mane." And boldly I said, "You're wrong, you'll see. I feel it and so does she. And even if you think I'm wrong, really, maybe for once you should keep that opinion in your mind and not speak so freely." Many years later, while waiting for yet another psychic to tell my mom she would still live long and happily, I asked my dad finally, "Do you remember when I asked you about heaven?" "Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, worm turn," he interrupted me. As my mother stared at him in shock, their eyes meeting in a deadlock, what he said next, "At least I am not what some people might call a hypocrite." Then my mother quite simply said, "Why didn't you ever ask me? I believe in heaven. I do not see where that will sit. But on the pile of hypocrisy, your dad is just a shit." To this day, they both live that famous verse together and recite, "Do not go gently into that good night." But that is when I learned and fell through the twist and turn of one awkward conversation I know, that life can change forever, bad or good, based on who you ask and what you believe is true. What choice you make, what heart you break, it's just chance, not fate nor faith. What you choose to focus on, what you choose to hear. A random question answered carelessly, based on things that happened quite devastatingly. My father turned motherless at 19. My father, already a man, at school for 3 years straight, no break. His choice to come home glumly and sit with his dad for a while and mourn, but too late. 6 months before he was torn. Off to med school too young. Yes, only 19. Yet still he had to walk away from his pain to pathology. So honestly and truthfully, our words spoken quite freely. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. A mother lost without much fuss. A broken-hearted child set free to think of life so minimally. To choose to study death scientifically. To cut cadavers with Kevorkian for extra coin conspicuously. My father thrown in with the bloodlust wolves as a child. And as an adult, speaking only once of his mother to me, to say that I looked just like her, really. So his fear that day when he told me my mom might die, I see, finally. To feel his pain so early, he could not bear the shock repeat on me. And that is why, what God would take away a mom, it is easier to believe when you must. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.